Hi guys, so in today's video I am finally going to tell you everything that I think that you need to start doing nails for the very first time. And everything that I mentioned today is going to be in a budget of $100. Everything that I'm showing you here today is going to be on my Amazon storefront for ease. I'm going to make a list for it all just by itself, so that way if you just want to go through and just add everything to your cart and check out and call it good, you can do that. But by no means do you have to do that. That is an affiliate link. So I'm also going to just list everything in the description that I'm going to be mentioning here today. That way, if you want to get a different brand, you can do that. If you want to just get a different color, I'm hoping that this video can just be a general guide. I know that it can be really hard to just know where to even start with a new hobby. I personally have quite a few hobbies, so I know it's really useful when there's just a straightforward list of everything that you need. So all of that will be down below, but in this video I'm also going to just talk about everything, why I chose it, and also how to use it and the steps. This video is going to be a lot more instructional than I normally do. I am a DIYer nail enthusiast. I am not licensed. This is just all my opinion from someone who just started doing their nails one day because they didn't like the nails that they were getting done at a salon. Of course, a lot of you that watch me are nail techs, do already do your own nails, and if you watch this video, I appreciate you so much. But also, I know that there are lots of people that watch videos on hobbies that they don't personally have. I know that is me 100%. And when you finally do want to like get your fingers in the hobby, you don't know where to start. So let's start here. Now, we all know that I test and review kits pretty often, but today I am not going to be recommending a single kit. In my experience, kits don't usually have literally everything that you actually need. A lot of the time you're missing your prep, or you're missing some files, or you're missing the lamp, or you're missing gels, or you're not getting the shape of tips that you want. Nails are so personal, and so this way you can build what you want to start with what you like, and hopefully that will make just, you know, learning more fun. Since this video is, again, targeted for those of you that know nothing about how to actually start doing your nails, I am picking what I think is the easiest way to get some solid nails on your fingers and have them look their absolute best, like you got them done at a salon. My goal today is to have you do your first set and you go out, you know, check out, and someone goes, "Oh my god, I love your nails." Okay, we're gonna do that today. The only thing I will not be linking in this list that I highly recommend that you just buy at almost any store is one, rubbing alcohol and acetone, pure acetone. Usually you can find rubbing alcohol in the first aid section. I recommend getting 99%, but you can get lower if that's all they have. It's not a huge deal. And most of the time, nail polish remover is different from pure acetone. Acetone will actually remove the gel, the tip, everything like that. But nail polish remover is usually truly only good for removing nail polish. Rubbing alcohol and acetone are way cheaper to just buy at Sally's, Walmart, Walgreens, Target than it would be to order it because they are flammable products. They don't ship very well and become really expensive to ship, and then you also get a smaller quantity than what you would just buy in store. Usually in store it's like $2 to $3. So this under $100, which I just pulled kind of $100 out of thin air, it kind of seemed like that's a good budget to start with. It's not too crazy. You're not investing, you know, hundreds of dollars into a drill, professional products, like a bunch of acrylic, all this stuff. You are just building yourself a good kit that will be good for 5 to 10 sets, which I feel like $100 is pretty good for that, considering that if you go to a salon, even a manicure sometimes can cost you 40, 50 bucks. So that's where I got that number from. I know the last time I got my nails done in a salon, I believe they were like $110, and I didn't even get a design on them. That was just the acrylic because I was going to a little bit of a nicer salon. I do know that this is a lot of talking before I get into actually showing the products and the steps, but I figure if you're here, you kind of want to hear perspective and my, you know, just DIY insight. Everything that I'm choosing to show you today is good quality. Now, don't get me wrong, if you want to go order a kit from AliExpress for 40 bucks and have it come with like 100 gels, that's being dramatic, like 20 gels, like 16 pigments, by all means. But if you're just starting, I personally don't think that a lot of people would use all of that stuff, and you're gonna get overwhelmed by your options. As well as with acrylic and stuff, you have to be careful about the ingredients that is used and the monomer and stuff like that. I know that not everyone can afford, you know, more expensive professional type products all the time, but these products I feel like are on the better side, but they are not the cheapest that you can get, because in my opinion, what I found a lot during just life is that sometimes the cheaper product will end up costing you more because it won't last, it'll break, and then you have to buy another one, and then you're out that money you spent for the first product, or you have to fix it, or it just, you know, doesn't work very well, and you know, time is also money. There are going to be things I'm going to mention that you can omit, but I still think are pretty helpful. Last but not least, before I show you the first product, I do just want to mention that since I did get this stuff on Amazon, Amazon prices can change, so please don't yell at me if a product has changed in price a little bit. When I put in my purchase, everything was $86 before tax. Now that we got all of that out of the way, let's go into the first thing and the first step that I think you need. So first and foremost, I think that you need a cuticle pusher and cuticle nippers, as well as this set comes with this scrape tool, which you can use to remove the nails. Lots of people already have this. I am also assuming that you do have a cuticle clipper. Most people probably do, so I didn't feel like I needed to include that, but I don't know that everyone has like a cuticle pusher. This is going to be essential to your prep. Alright, so ignoring the fact that my real nails are crusty dusty, we're going to start by pushing back the cuticle. You don't want to push too hard, you just want to get any like residue, kind of like that, off of your nail, because that will hinder the product sticking to your nail. As far as the cuticle nippers go, I would be pretty conservative with them unless you are really comfortable using them. You don't want to get yourself, I don't really have anything that needs to be nipped off. All you would want to do is anything that's like white like that, you would want to get that off, but you don't want to touch your actual skin. If you are squeezing down, just do a little bit of pressure, and then if you feel your skin, do not clip that. If it looks kind of like this though, you most likely don't actually need to use the cuticle nipper. You can most likely just scrape it off with the cuticle pusher or the other side of it with the little scraper, but still be careful because that can be sharp. The next thing I'm going to use isn't 100% necessary, but they're really useful and they do help a little bit. Lint-free nail wipes. Now this will make it so that when you're cleaning your nail bed for prep, or you know, wiping a sticky layer off, that you're not going to get residue like you would from like a paper towel or a tissue, you know, stuff like that. When I'm doing nail art, I will also usually wipe my brush to change color on these. That way I am not getting any residue from a paper towel in my brush, and then it'll get on my nail art. There's a lot of little fibers on everything, and so this just makes it so that your nails stay clean and not fuzzy. This is what they look like. We will use those in just a moment. Even though today I'm not going to be showing you how to like sculpt out a nail out of anything, I still think that having a bunch of files is super important. They will just come in super useful, as well as a bit of a variety of buffing blocks. 100 and 180 grit are pretty standard. 100 is going to be the rougher side and 180 is going to be the smoother side. The higher the number, the smoother it is and the smoother finish it will give you. I chose these files very specifically because they are straight on one side and curved on another, and I love files like this. It's my favorite type of file to use, as well as ones that kind of look like this. I don't know how to describe this like sandpaper, but they don't have a bunch of bumps for the grit. I don't know. They're a bit smoother and I just feel like they are nicer to use. For this curved part, this will be useful when you are wanting to file near the cuticle. If you had some gel squeeze out, or you know, just you want to smooth it down, whatever, this will be very useful and you will have less of a chance of nicking yourself and you'll be able to get more in that crevice. But something I didn't learn until way later on that you should do with your files that will help you not get yourself. These ones aren't super sharp, but if you're kind of, you know, going at it, you can end up getting yourself. So I'm gonna take the audio off because it is terrible to listen to. But what you're going to want to do is scrape the corners of these with another file. You want to essentially file down the edges of this, and that will make it so that if it goes on your skin a couple times, it's not just going to just slice it open. So like, and there we go, way less sharp. The buffing blocks that come in this set are 80, 120, so 80 is a rougher grit and 120 is the little bit smoother. When you hear buffing, you think that you are trying to, smooth something out, and a lot of the time you are. A lot of people say this is just wrong sometimes, but this is how I do it and what personally works for me. This type of thing, you can't really mess up too much except for using just a super low grit on your natural nails. You do not want to do that. What I personally do is I use a buffer block for my natural nail prep to etch it. Something about using just a nail file is too harsh with the lines on it. Having something like a buffer block for me that can sort of curve around your nail and conform to it makes it easier and more gentle for me. When I use a just straight nail file, I feel like it is more abrasive than just using a sanding block. So that's what I use. I wouldn't use the 80 grit on my natural nails, and I probably also wouldn't use the 100 on my natural nails, but I also go through a lot of sets. It's up to you. I don't use the 80. This sanding block right here feels not too bad for me. It feels perfect. So this is what I'm going to use to rough up my nails. You want to rough up your nails so that the product can stick to it. When it's smooth, there's nothing for it to grab onto. When you have all those like micro abrasions on it, it helps it just grab onto things. It's like that for everything with like painting, furniture, same thing applies. Who made the rules for that? I have no idea, but it's just what we gotta do. Obviously, we can see that my natural nails are always in a little bit of a rough shape, but if you are putting a set on that lasts, 2 to 3 weeks and you're filling them or even just taking them off real gently, you'll be fine. I change sets like twice a week, so don't mind me. But what I'm going to do is just put a light pressure on it, nothing crazy. And you can see it looks, like scratched up a little bit. I feel like with buffing blocks, you can get really close to that edge of your nail and almost like push back the skin a little bit at the same time. That's why I like them. Again, some people are gonna say it's wrong. That's totally fine for them to think that, but that's how I believe works best for me. Going back into our wipes, I'm going to wipe my nail with alcohol and just really get in there, get any underneath the cuticle that I can and the sides really, really well. We don't want any of that dust from filing the nail on there. The next step is definitely optional, but it will last better. You can prep your nails by just using acetone, which will essentially strip any oil, anything off, and really just dry out your nail and get it ready for the base that we're going to put on. But a dehydrator and primer can definitely help. This is a more affordable set. This is one of the only things I'm going to offer an alternative for if you want to just spend that little bit of extra money, is getting the Young Nails Protein Bond. A huge majority of nail techs swear by this, and it does help with the longevity of your nails. So if you are planning on wanting to keep your sets on for a really long time, this is something to get. But again, it's not 100% necessary if it's not in your budget to start out. Again, the dehydrator is going to do exactly what it says, just dehydrate your nail, and you want to just put that all over so you can see how it dries it out. It's really fun to watch sometimes. And then the primer, this is going to help, the product stick to your nail even better, and you'll just want to coat that as well. Probably one of the most important things that you need is a nail lamp. This is going to cure everything. In a lot of full cover tip kits, you get a little lamp, and often it's a just single light lamp, and it's meant so that you can hold the tip on your nail super easily and cure it. But for me, I strongly dislike them. They never work for me, especially if you do longer nails. They are slow and they're really not useful for much else. If you get, say, the Beatles kit or whatever, you technically can also cure your gel polish with it, but it might not cure all the way. It might not be strong enough, and it's going to take forever. You will need another lamp, and I feel like you might as well just get a better lamp to start with. Nowadays, I do use a rechargeable professional lamp. So for this one is corded, but it is still pretty good quality and strength for the price. I believe it was like $15. It might have been on sale, but it's still really cute and it's going to do the job for you. It is 48 watt, which should be strong enough to cure any gel you put on. If you just know that you are going to want to do your own nails for the rest of your life, I would recommend just getting a little bit of a better lamp, maybe a rechargeable one, more of like a professional one, because that's something that will last you forever. But the price on those just kind of jump. There's not a lot of good middle ground, and I feel like this is a good middle ground. The only thing I really don't like about this is the cord is not super long. which probably for most people not a huge issue. We'll turn it on and then you can have like 60 seconds and there you go. You can also change the strength so it lights up more if it's at 48 watt or a little bit, you know, dimmer at 24. And I mean, it's also just super cute. It's a little cat paw. The inside is cute too. I promise we should be moving along a little bit quicker now. So this is a base and top coat set, which I think is really great to start with because you get a base coat, a shiny top coat, and a matte top coat. Often with kits, you'll get something that is the base coat and the nail glue, but I personally prefer to have a separate base coat because a lot of the time the nail glue, the curable nail glue, the whatever you adhere the nail with is a bit thicker, and I personally think it's easier to put a little bit of a thinner coat on my actual nail as the base as opposed to a thick one. A thick one is just, you know, harder to move around, harder to get in the crevices, and if it does spill a little bit, it's harder to clean up. Nonetheless, an actual base coat and then 2 top coats. So I'm gonna get the base coat out from this. I'm going to put my base coat on, and while you do this, make sure that in between you are not touching your face, petting your dog, touching your hair, because any oil that you get on your nail after you've prepped it will hinder the adhesion process. It just won't last as long. The goal is to have no dirt, no debris, no oil, no cuticle on your nail when you're trying to put on any sort of, you know, gel, extension. There we go, that should work. Then we're going to cure it. Let's talk about the actual nail itself. So today I'm going to show you how to put on full cover tips, and this is going to just give you a nice sleek look. It's essentially putting on a press-on but with gel, so you have more adhesion, and then obviously you customize it to however you want on the top. You design it, you decorate it yourself, and there's just so many options. This is what I went with for today, but you can really get whatever you want. Obviously, I know that most people aren't going to want to start out with nails this long. Maybe you do. I don't know. That's cool if you do. But if you don't, you can find just exactly what you want and what's going to work for you. You can look around. If you know that you have wider nail beds, you can look and find ones that have a little bit of a larger size. If you have smaller nail beds, you can look at ones that have a little bit of a smaller size. Just whatever works for you. These are long square and they are already pre-etched on the inside. And that's what that looks like. It is basically already roughed up, like how we talked about, you know, roughing up the nail. These most of the time need some sort of etching, whether physical or chemical, but definitely not all nails come pre-etched. If that's the case, you can always just take a buffing block and scrape the inside of that. That works too. You can always just brush some acetone in there as well. I'm not sure if this specific primer works with it. It might, but also some primers will also etch it. If you're looking for kind of like a 2-in-1, I recommend getting some stiletto tips. You can always just chop the top of those and make them coffin. When you're grabbing at your tips, you're going to want to make sure it's fitted sidewall to sidewall, and if your cuticle isn't matching with the shape of the cuticle on here, you can just file it around easily. I will do that a little bit with this one. I also wanted to touch on really quickly the difference between natural and sculpted tips. When a tip says natural, that means it's going to lay flatter. So if you have a sharp C curve on your nail, if you look at your nail, look at it, and if you get a sharp C, you probably have more sculpted nails, and that's what you're going to want to use. Sculpted will have a much higher apex and will, you know, look more structured. But if you have really flat nail beds, a lot of the time they might pinch your nails a little bit, or they just might fit weird. I have pretty flat nail beds, so I usually go for natural, but occasionally I will file some sculpted ones down because they do look really nice also. So here's my tip. These are pretty square down there, and I can feel it digging into here, so I'm going to just file that a little bit. Much better. To adhere the tips onto your nail, you technically can use base coat, but it will just be really runny. So what my #1 recommendation is going to be, and to also give you the easiest first experience as possible, I recommend solid nail glue. And essentially it is an extremely thick gel, and it's not going to spill anywhere, and you can even use it to mold 3D charms. 3D nail art. But most importantly with this, you're going to be able to put the tip on your nail, push it down, maybe clean it up, and then put it in the lamp without having to hold it down. Having to hold the nail down while it cures can definitely be a learning curve. I know I have had many crooked nails by doing that and just getting the hang of it. Also, you get sometimes a lot of spillage. With this, it should be fairly easy to clean up. Shouldn't give you a bunch of sticky residue everywhere. If you put too much and it squeezes out the back, it's super easy to get off. This should be not a huge hassle. Hopefully, when you're doing your nails, you're not gonna get super flustered by just all this going on. Really, we just want to mainly scoop it, put it on, cure it, and have a nail. If in between putting on your base coat and putting the tip on, you get stuff on your nail, you can just wipe that with alcohol, but make sure that it is dry before you put the tip on. There's a couple ways you can get this out. You know, you can always scoop it out with like a cuticle pusher. I wouldn't really recommend a brush, but what I think is easiest and what I would recommend is you just go in, scoop a little out like that. Here is where my second to last recommendation comes in. Again, not 100% necessary, but will be very, very helpful. I highly recommend you get yourself just a little set of nail art brushes. They don't have to be anything fancy, but by having brushes, it's gonna give you a lot more ease cleaning up and a lot more versatility with nail designs, especially if you're on a budget. This is something that I do still think you should get, because if you don't have a lot of money for a bunch of different gels, a bunch of different colors, you're able to create a lot of designs and do a lot of different styles with brushes as opposed to colors. Because there's really only so much you can really do with a brush coming out of a gel bottle. You know, they're mainly meant for just painting on your whole nail. They're not really meant for nail art. But I'm going to take this one right here and we're going to be able to clean up the gel a little bit. We do have that little bit of spillage and we're just going to want to pull it just, you know, a little bit up. You want enough gel to just fill the space of the entire length of your nail. So you don't need a lot. I see a lot of people using their fingers with this. If you don't want to get a brush and you just want to use your fingers, that's fine, but just put on a glove. It is best to not touch uncured nail gel as much as possible because you can develop an allergy. So just be careful, especially if you're first starting out. How much gel you're going to need is really going to depend on the tip you're using and your natural nail and how much space there is to fill, but you'll get the hang of it about, you know, deciding. Start with a little bit, you go back and get more if you need it. Even after all this time, I still don't know exactly. But let's just put this on and see if it works. And we just push down and it does. So now that I've pushed this down on here, I have not even cured it yet and you can see that it's still staying. So I have a little bit of gel that I could probably grab off of here. So I'm just going to get that off. Now that our nail is on though, I am going to cure it. If you have some dust from filing or you think you've touched it, you can wipe it with alcohol. The only thing with alcohol and like acetone sometimes is you can get, like you can see here, this like weird like white discoloring on there, which honestly doesn't really matter if we're going to put some gel over it. Obviously you want to be super careful if you're planning on doing clear nails, but you definitely want to clean that off. So again, I'm just going to scoop a teeny tiny bit. I actually did not need nearly as much as the first one because these ones are pretty flat. You don't absolutely have to smooth it. You can kind of just like push and do that and clean it if you want. Once you have your tips on, you can file to your liking. You'll most likely always need to file off the little tip here where it came off of, you know, whatever mold it came out of. Then maybe the sides and around the cuticle if you have some excess gel or if you just want it to be a little bit more flush. As well as if you're having problems with the cuticle area being too bulky, you can file that on the tip before you put it on your nail. But I'm just going to shape these up a little bit now. After filing, the next thing you will need is some gel, of course. I think that you should have a couple gels to start with. If you're a one color type of person, then by all means. But if you want to do any nail art, I would say like 6 is good to start with and definitely not necessary, but I also recommend getting a black and white just so you can mix colors. I feel like black and white are pretty staple. That's just what I would recommend, but I have this one here and this is a 6 gel set and it is all pastel. So let's look at the colors. You definitely don't need super expensive gels to start with or ever, but I probably would steer clear of the sets that are like 20 gels for like $10 because the quality on those is not going to be great and it's going to be more frustrating than it's worth to save that money. Of course, you can just put one color on, top coat it, and call it good, but I'm going to do a little bit of a design today. I've seen this, I don't even know what to call it, two-toned reverse French tip from Ellen Nailed It, and it is so cute, and that's definitely doable with the stuff that I showed you today, so let's do that. But it will require using the brushes that I showed you earlier. At this point, you want to make sure that the nails are clean, so I just washed my hands and scrubbed the nails to get all of that dust off. I do not have the brush that she was using to ombre it, so I'm just going to use just a sort of like regular brush to ombre. While all kinds of brushes and different products and all this other stuff can definitely make things easier and do different designs, you don't absolutely need them to do your own nails. Of course, a lot of it is super fun and you want it, but don't let not having, say, like a drill stop you from doing your nails, because you don't need one. Okay, not too bad of an ombre. This little part down here. The brushes are great for cleanup. I'm going to cure this. I don't have an outlet close enough to put this on my table, so I've been kind of just holding it. And I'm going to do a second layer. That looks pretty cute now. I'm going to cure it. It's like Easter vibes, even though we're going into fall. For the French tip, I am going to dab a little bit out so we can paint it on with a brush. You don't need a palette or anything like that. Although you can always go, which is what I do, to like Lowe's and get just a single piece of tile and use that. I think sometimes the samples are free. I'm not sure. I think I paid like $1 for my last one. This is definitely a trust the process type of design, making me a little nervous. And then this other side. Should have planned this out a little bit more, but it's fine. Then I'm going to blend these. Now I'm going to take a little bit of alcohol in my brush and try to carve this out. Okay, not bad for the first clean. Okay, and that is looking good. That looks so cute. Is that cotton candy? I normally go for a glossy, but I think that this design would look really cool matte, so that's what I'm gonna use. This is the last step, and of course the last thing you need. This matte top coat was in that bundle that I showed you earlier with the base coat. Put a nice healthy top coat on that. If your nails are looking a little too thick with how much gel you put on, it's just like pooling, or the top coat is, before you cure it, you can always take one of these and just swipe it towards the bottom or up a little bit, you know, to the sides, not too much, but that will help, you know, just clean it up, and it really shouldn't affect like the retention of the gel or anything like that. But yeah, let's cure this and see how it looks matte. I love it. I will show you guys the completed set at the end, but this video was mainly about the products and what you need and the orders. It wasn't really about the design. I really hope that this video was helpful. I truly did my best putting all of this together. Again, all of this stuff will be in its own list down below, and then also on my Amazon storefront, I have like a nails and other sections. In the nail section, there will be, of course, other products that I do like, and if you don't want to buy it on Amazon, do not buy it on Amazon and buy it elsewhere, but this is just a way to compile everything. Please make sure to give this video a like if this video helped you out or you want more videos like this. I don't really do a lot of, you know, like instructional or, you know, anything like this, since I am just like a DIYer enthusiast, but I of course want to help other, you know, like DIYers out or people wanting to do their nails or starting, you know, everyone starts somewhere. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will hopefully see you next time. Bye!